Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Going the Distance. This is episode 26. Can you believe we've done 26 episodes? I can't, but it's been a good ride. So I want to thank the new members who are joining us for the first time, and I want to welcome back the members that have been joining us from the beginning. We got a lot to get to today. We've got some basketball news. We've got some NFL news. We've got some NASCAR news that broke couple days ago, and we've got some music, and we've got the King's Corner. So first off, we're going to start with the King's Corner. So King, it's all you, buddy.
Thank you very much, Pete. And again, I'm King James. This is my segment, the King's Corner, where I add a little pop culture to the show. And we've got a big story this week because, as I mentioned, last week was the daytime Emmys that aired on CBS at primetime last Friday. And I knew something crazy was going to go down because it usually does on live television. But I don't think anybody saw this coming. Most of the time, the daytime Emmys are devoted to excellence in daytime dramas, talk shows, and game shows, that sort of thing. Well, one of the categories they have is outstanding guest performance of a drama.
Wow.
Well, I think you're going to be surprised when you find out who the winner is.
Who was it?
Get this. The winner for best performance in a daytime drama was the legendary Dick Van Dyke.
Wow.
I'm not joking. He appeared as a guest on Days of Our Lives when he portrayed John Black's long-lost father.
Wow.
And he was awarded with a daytime Emmy, and as a result, he makes history by becoming the oldest Emmy winner in history at 98 years young.
I was going to say, isn't he on pushing 100 years old?
He's getting close, but what was even more surprising was that he was actually there to accept his Emmy live.
Wow.
And I felt like that was rather interesting.
Yeah.
In its own right. In addition, we had a brand new show dropping, a brand new GSN original this week called Beat the Bridge with Cameron Matheson. And basically it's one team trying to earn money by crossing this huge arch by answering questions related to various subjects round by round. But it gets more challenging because every time the money goes up, but you also have more answers to face every round. Three rounds of regular gameplay, then you have a shot at a bonus of $5,000. But if at any time somebody gets a wrong answer, 3 wrong answers will end your turn right there. And you and your teammates lose all your money unless your teammates hit the banking button if they think you're in trouble. So it adds an interesting wrinkle to the typical trivia show, if I do say so myself. And we've had an interesting development on Race to Survive New Zealand this week. Because we just finished Race 2, but not without controversy.
What happened?
Because, as many of you saw last week, a freak injury in the marsh forced one team to withdraw. But then, this week, as the teams were making their way up to survival camp following the 12-hour race clock, one of the team members was struck out with an injury because she twisted her ankle when she was making her way up the mountainside. So it'll be interesting to see how long they can last to see if they can go any further, because if you're navigating terrain and you get injured, naturally something's going to go down one way or the other. But the biggest story of the whole season at this point would be a team of divorcees. And when I say divorcees, I mean the divorce is technically still fresh because they've only been separated for a few months, but yet they're working out in the wilderness as a team, and it seems like they're not getting along worth a crap, but they managed to coexist long enough to stick it out through the first couple of races, despite making some very stupid mistakes by following the wrong directions of other competitors. So we'll see how much longer they can last, but I can already tell just based on the people I've talked to that they're taking some people off by constantly bickering. So
yeah, but that's life too, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes for interesting television.
Yeah, I bet.
And as you probably know, this week, as far as the sports entertainment front, we're getting set for the Clash at the Castle pay-per-view that's going to go down tomorrow night. Or, excuse me, it's actually going to air at 2 o'clock here in the United States on the East Coast, 11 a.m. the West Coast. But it's going to be broadcast in Scotland, so it's going to be an interesting show. We're going to have Cody Rhodes defending the Universal Championship against AJ Styles in an I Quit match, which is basically just like it sounds. The only way to win is by verbally making your opponent submit by making him say, I quit. So that's going to be a wild night to say the least. But I will certainly have some more information for you in the weeks to come, because American Ninja Warrior is in full swing, and as I suspected, Najee Richardson will be retiring this season. However, he has advanced to the semifinals in a few weeks, so his season's not over yet.
You think he'll win?
I really don't know, because the thing of it is, no matter how experienced somebody is in this sport, they're constantly changing the course because they want to make it more challenging. So
right.
It doesn't matter how experienced someone is in free running or parkour, for instance. You always have to continuously adapt, or else you could be in trouble.
Right.
And since they've added the time element and the race element for the mega wall and for the semifinals, that makes things much more challenging because you have to be fast, but you also have to be strategic.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting season, and just so you know, it's going to be delayed for the next few weeks. So American Ninja Warrior returns July 1st. So make sure you guys continue to check that out throughout the remainder of the summer. But Pete, with that being said, I'll pass it back over to you for the news.
All right. Thank you, Thank you, King. It was a great segment, buddy.
As always, and I'll stick around throughout the show.
Yep.
Jump in where I can.
I appreciate it. So we're going to start out with big news that came out on Wednesday for you guys that on the 4th of July that watched the Nathan's hot dog eating competition.
Oh, yeah, Joey Chestnut. I think I heard some about this, but I don't know the real story.
Joey Chestnut, who has been multiple-time champion for years. I can't really remember the first year he won, but he's now
2008.
2008. That sounds about right. He was banned from the hot dog eating contest for sponsorship from a different sponsor.
Uh-oh.
So it's the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, not the Oscar Mayer. And I don't know I just said Oscar Mayer. I don't know which sponsor he was sponsored by.
Right.
But we're going to get a new champion next month because he can't compete. And apparently he can't be sponsored by Nathan's.
So let me just clarify something here.
Yeah.
You said he was banned from the upcoming competition next month, but does that mean he's banned for life?
I think so. That's how I took it. I mean,
I know there's rules against gambling in baseball, but
oh yeah,
there was rules against sponsorship.
There's gambling and banning for gambling in baseball and all of it.
Wow.
As far as I see, he's banned for life because why would they just ban him for this year, get a new champion, and then put him back as champ next year? So in my thought, they need to just ban him for good.
Probably so. He screwed himself.
Yeah. So moving on to some NFL news, Christian McCaffrey, the former wide receiver for Carolina. Wait, he was was he a running back, King?
I cannot tell you for certain.
But I do
know he was a former Panther.
Let me check that. I'm pretty sure he was a wide receiver. But let me see.
Thank God for the internet.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Running back. He was a former running back for the Carolina Panthers and now running back for the San Francisco 49ers. He is going to be on the new cover of the new Madden this year. So all you gamers out there who have the latest and greatest Xbox and all that, PCs, check that out.
Now tell the truth, Pete.
Huh.
Do you consider yourself much of a gamer?
Not really much of one. I do enjoy playing video games. And I do have some Madden games that I play. But when I was younger, yes, I would consider myself one. But I didn't get on the computer and do the games.
Well, if I'm being honest, I prefer games that require skill or make you think.
I do too.
Those head-to-head games kind of take you off because you don't want to lose.
You don't. One of my favorites growing up, even when I wasn't on my PlayStation or whatever, I would play board games. And one of our favorites to play was Scrabble.
Oh yeah.
So that kept my mind sharp. And there were words that I knew that I didn't even realize. I'm like, oh yeah, I could put that on there. And then they'd be like, did you know that was a word? I was like, I guess so. But it kept my mind sharp. And even to this day, I'll still play Scrabble to keep my mind sharp and keep it right.
There are things about life that just stick with you.
Absolutely. And
that's one of those things.
Scrabble's always going to be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So now, last night, Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who played for the Clemson Tigers in college, agrees to a 5-year, $275 million contract with the Jaguars.
That's kind of pushing it.
You think?
Don't you think?
Yeah, I do. Now, I'm a Trevor Lawrence fan. I was back in college. Granted, I think he needs to cut his hair. But back in college, he was in that Clemson crowd that just stayed relevant.
Hey, some people say the hair makes the man.
Right. Well, I know, but I guess you're right, man. But to give him 5 years, $275 million, that's, like you said, pushing it. Because he's good, but he's not that good. I'd give him...
Really, I think because there were so many rules against sponsorship and payment in college for all this time, I really think the duration of someone's contract really should depend on wins and losses.
Right.
Because that way the responsibility falls back on them. Not only as student athletes, but as pros as well.
Right. Well, see, my thing, too, is you get this money. Now, somebody like Trevor, who I've liked, he hadn't really developed enough in college. Or in the NFL, I'm sorry. He still has some growing he has to do.
Well, forget about developing in the NFL. What about developing as a human being?
Exactly.
Do you really think you can handle that kind of money?
I don't know. But there's players that have gotten all this money that like a Dak Prescott got all his money. Now, granted, he still plays at a good level. But a lot of these players get this money and then they just start tanking. It's like they go to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
It's like they go to the Super Bowl.
And you know why that happens?
Why?
Not just in football, but in any sport. If somebody paid too much money and they can't back it up, regardless of what happens, they're going to get cocky. I mean, look at LeBron James.
Right.
Both of them got cocky.
Wait, LeBron and who?
And Cam Newton.
Well, I was never a Cam Newton fan.
Well, a lot of people were, but in his last few years as a Panther, let's be honest, he had a bit of a hissy attitude. He didn't like to lose.
He did, but that all came from him. I mean, that wasn't, And I think a lot of that was because he got away with a lot of stuff in college. And that's kind of where my dislike for him started. Because as long as you've known me, King, I've told you I've never been a Cam Newton fan.
I think I remember you mentioning that, yes.
But did I mention to you why I was never a Cam Newton fan?
Actually, you didn't. And I admit his attitude turned around after that car accident, but do elaborate.
It was way before the car accident. This is when he was back in college. And he started at one school, and he ended up being drafted out of Auburn, I believe. And he got to Auburn. Now, I don't think many people know this, but he got to Auburn because his dad, I guess, paid his way to get in. Because I guess they did.
That's illegal.
Exactly. Nothing happened to him, but they paid his way to get in. And now, granted, you could say, "Oh, that was, his scholarship." He transferred, and they paid for the transfer.
Right.
So that's my big thing. And I thought, if you're going to let him get away with it, then, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, no one's above the law.
Right, and he thought he was. So then when that carried him into the NFL, I'm like, yeah, no. And then when he came to the Panthers, I was like, really? But I stuck it out, Now, granted, I think Bryce Young, who I've heard this week had one of his best days at minicamp since his rookie year.
Man.
I think Bryce Young might be good. I think if he develops this year, he can really do some good stuff for Carolina this year.
Well, only time will tell.
That's right. But on a lighter note, we had some good news. Had something good this week happen, King. You know what that was?
What?
We had Tom Brady's jersey retirement at New England.
Oh, I know you've been waiting for that one.
Oh yeah, I was watching. I was on my YouTube, and they broadcasted it only in Boston. They didn't show it on NFL Network. But I was on YouTube, and they had this live stream going of wasn't just his jersey retirement. It was his Patriot Hall of Fame ceremony. And it ran for about 2 hours. And they had all his former players. They had Edelman. They had Gronk. They had Randy Moss. They had Ty Law, Vince Wood, all the players that he played with. They even had surprises like Peyton Manning come out.
Well, if I was in his shoes, that was how I'd want to go out.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, when you really sit and think about it, the numbers spoke for themselves, and Tom was hands down better than Peyton.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can say rings don't lie. They don't lie. But
would you be willing to say that he's better than, say, John Elway from the Denver Broncos?
oh yeah, I would go that far because I mean, yeah, John had great. John was great back in his day, and he could do some phenomenal. One of the things I remember about Elway, and this was before I started watching football, but one thing I remember about Elway is seeing him do what they call a helicopter twirl into the end
I'm
zone.
familiar with that one.
That's kind of like what Carson Wentz did his second or third year in the league when Philadelphia played Detroit.
Right.
And he tore his ACL. So if you guys don't remember this, Carson Wentz and Jared Goff were 1-2 that year. I can't remember what draft that was, but they went 1-2. So the big news that year was, when are they going to play each other?
Well, that had to have been the 2000s draft, because I think Elway retired after Super Bowl 35.
He did, and then Tom was drafted. Tom was drafted in 2000, and I think Carson and Jared didn't go till like 08 or 09, I think. Something like that. So they played in, I believe it was Philadelphia. And this is something about that Cam started with all these running quarterbacks that I'm not a huge fan of either.
Right.
But Carson went and ran for a touchdown. Well, what happened was he went through the middle, which is always a bad move. It's like going for a 2-point conversion. It's worthless. It very rarely happens. But he ran through the middle and he jumped over the pile. Well, when he jumped, he was hit on his upper and lower body, which made him twirl like a helicopter.
Uh-oh.
Well, what we didn't realize was when he landed, normally they land and then shoot right back up. He didn't do that. He landed and stayed down. And he was being helped off the field. So he tore his
He must have gone down on the knee.
He did. And he was never the same after that. His game was never the same. And I was always a Carson Wentz fan. But I still like to see where he goes, but I don't have high hopes that he'll get a championship anymore. Whereas Jared Goff, I think, is 1 year away. They might go this year, and he might win.
Anything can happen in sports.
In fact, I'm actually want to see Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions win this year.
What?
I would. I think I'm a Patriot fan, but I think Jared Goff and the Lions have a complete team this year. I think the Patriots are going to be in a rebuild year.
Well, with all due respect, people say the Panthers have been in a rebuilding stage for a long time. So, we need to bounce back.
And y'all will. My thought is, with Bryce Young, y'all got the quarterback. Y'all just need more,
My thing is, Detroit has always been a strong team in my eyes, but some of their individual players are a little bit over the top.
Yeah. Well, you know why I don't think they won last year? Because they had the team to do it last year.
Right.
And almost went to the Super Bowl. But do you know why I don't think they went last year?
Cocky behavior?
No.
What was it?
Because they didn't want Detroit to beat Kansas City twice in the same year.
You have got to be kidding me.
They beat them. So every year.
Are you trying to tell me you think they tried to throw the game?
The NFL, I think, said something to them, yeah. Because I think they want to make Patrick Mahomes like another Tom Brady.
That's another Deflategate scandal waiting to happen.
Exactly. But even though we know that was a lie. But anyway, yeah. So Tom now, his jersey has been retired in New England, which means no other player can wear the number 12 jersey, which I think is great.
Makes sense. They did the same thing for Peyton when he retired from Indianapolis.
Yeah. And they'll probably do it for him in Denver, too. And I got a buddy of mine that's a big Denver Broncos fan.
Oh.
And I worked with him, and he was so funny because when Peyton was there, he thought Peyton was going to be the savior. He was gonna give him a championship. And then he had to change the play in the first play of the Super Bowl, and the ball went over his head.
Oh.
So then he said Russell Wilson was going to be it, and that didn't happen, even though I'm a Russell fan too. But nobody can wear the number 12 for New England now, which I think is great because, honestly, I think they should have had Tom sign that jersey and then hang it.
Of course.
But now his name is embroidered in Gillette Stadium for all time as one of the greats.
Wow.
So if you guys want to go check that out, if you want to check that out, King, go to YouTube. And what I did is I typed in New England Patriots in YouTube, and it brought up the whole hour and 50 minute show.
Well, we'll definitely keep that in mind.
So I thought if you go back and listen to Tom's speech, it was inspiring, and I actually might pull from some of that later on in the show. But moving on, in NASCAR news, we have driver Martin Truex Jr. plans to retire after this year. Now, he's been racing since 2001, where he took over for his dad at Dover in 2001. Drove his father's number 56 Chevy. He started 19th but finished 38th after an early wreck. And he's a Cup Series champ. And his girlfriend, believe her name was Sarah. I know her last name was Pollock. Just passed away late last year from cancer.
Oh, no.
So, but she had been sick for a long time. And he came from a family of racers because his dad raced and his younger brother actually still competes part-time in the Xfinity Series, which is like the college ranks in NASCAR.
But that's where the kart, not really driving the big cars.
Right. Well, see, it's the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and then the Cup Series.
Okay.
So, I hate to really put it like this, but this is how I see it. The Truck Series is like high school, just starting out.
Oh.
Xfinity Series is like college.
Okay.
And then the Cup Series is the big boys. Now, when drivers get injured and need somebody to fill in for them, they pull for the Xfinity Series. And you can always tell who the next up-and-comer is going to be because they pull that person.
That's how Danica Patrick got her start a few years ago, isn't it?
Exactly. And she was, the next big thing. And I see Martin Truex came into it because his family was into it. So what do you want to bet when Martin retires? Then his brother Ryan will be the next big thing.
Perhaps so.
So I hate.
Happen all the time in pro wrestling.
Yep. So I hate to go. Yep. I hate to go here, but do we think Martin wins the championship this year with it being his last year?
Well,
I kind of see him going out. You what?
Everybody would want to go out on top, but as you've seen, anything's possible.
Exactly. And I believe I mean, I'd love it if Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson won. And Larson actually could be poised to win it again this year because he's already won. One driver to only win 3 times this year. So he could, he'd be the Larson for Hendrick would be the favorite. But with Martin announcing his retirement, I might see that being a thing too. And maybe not winning, but at least making it far in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah. So, as I said earlier in the week, we have the UFL Championship this weekend between Birmingham Stallions and the San Antonio Brahmas. That's Sunday night at 5 o'clock. Now, I bring this up again because I've learned more things about this game. Like, Tom Brady is going to present the championship trophy at the end of the game.
Wow.
Which, again,
that's a huge coup.
It is. And it's only fitting because the greatest of all time is going to present the trophy. But here's something I didn't realize. Now, years back, I was a huge Kurt Warner fan. His son, Cade, plays wide receiver for the Brahmas, so Kurt Warner's going to be in attendance there too. And Kurt, in my opinion, he is a Super Bowl champion, but he should have won 2 champions, and he got, excuse my language, but screwed out of one when he played Pittsburgh, which is one of my reasons of me not liking Pittsburgh. Because when he played for Arizona, they say he threw an interception and Pittsburgh ran 100 yards down the field. And I swear I think the man stepped out halfway down the field.
Well, the referees aren't perfect. I admit that.
They're not.
But you got to admit, that wasn't deliberate.
No.
They can only call what they see.
Right. And see, Kurt that was his 3rd Super Bowl he was in because, like Tom Brady, Kurt Warner was on a really good team. When he was with the St. Louis Rams, like Brady was with a good team in New England.
Okay.
And when Kurt was playing, and if y'all haven't seen the movie American Underdog, check that out. That is Kurt Warner's story of how he became an NFL player.
Really?
Yes, it's a great movie. One of my favorite sports movies.
I did not know that.
But he was with he actually started in the Arena League. And then he got a call from Green Bay to try out. But they went with they drafted Brett Favre and went with Brett Favre instead.
Right.
So then go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just got to know. A few years ago, we saw P.J. Walker transition from the XFL to the NFL following the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've got to know, do you see any of these XFL or USFL players going forward to the big league?
Oh, yeah. I don't know who yet, but I'll tell you, you're a Panther fan, right, King?
Well, Carolina's my hometown.
Right. So you pull for the home.
Have to be
right.
A follower of the Panthers.
Right.
I may not be the biggest fan, but I follow them.
Right. Well, y'all had a quarterback named Matt Corral a couple years back. He plays for the XFL now, and I've actually heard where NFL teams are looking at him again.
Really?
So he plays for the UFL now, but he might go to the NFL again soon.
Well, only time will tell.
That's right. But again, that game is Sunday night at 5 p.m. So we're going to check that out.
I was getting ready to say, if it's 5 a.m., people might want to camp out to watch it.
I know, right? I kind of had a brain lapse there. That was my fault.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, but moving on, we have some big NBA playoff news, King.
Oh.
Do you remember what my pick was for the NBA to win the NBA championship this year?
I do believe you said it was Boston.
Yep. Well, they defeated on, I believe it was last night. No, this is Friday, so it was Wednesday night. The Celtics defeated the Mavs 106-99 to lead the series 3-0. Jaylen Brown had 30 points for Boston, and Kyrie Irving had 35 points for the Mavs. Now, I say big news because the next playoff game, the next NBA playoff game is Friday night, tonight, at 8:30 on ABC. And if Boston wins tonight, they win the championship.
They'll sweep the series.
They'll sweep the series. That's right. That's why I say big news. Because I thought the Mavs were going to take it a couple nights ago.
Right. Well, switching gears for a second, but staying on the basketball front, I do need to get your opinion on something.
What's that?
A few months ago, all of the country marveled at Caitlin Clark. Everybody said she was going to be the next up-and-comer of the WNBA.
Right.
Well, you may have heard last week it was reported that she was left off of the Olympic team for the 2024 games.
Yeah.
Which will start at the end of July.
Right.
So, I'm curious to know how you feel about that.
I kind of have mixed feelings about it. She's a heck of a player. I've seen highlights and I've watched a couple of her Indiana Fever games, even though I've never been a big WNBA fan. And I've just recently gotten to where
She's one of those players that make you pay attention whether you're a fan or not.
Exactly. Just like, I'm getting more into watching more basketball, getting into it more.
Right.
She's a great player. But my thing is, just like football.
Okay.
In my opinion, rookies don't need to go to the Pro Bowl, just like rookies don't need to go to an Olympic team.
Well, you might want to follow that same front for coaches, because think about it.
Exactly.
Coach K was the head of the Olympic team for years.
Right.
But he's the winningest college coach in history.
Right.
But he never turned pro, with the exception of being on the Olympic team.
Exactly. So, right, and college coaches, I think, should be exempt too. Have somebody like Jason Kidd out of Dallas, or have the coach out of Boston. In fact, the other night, Boston's head coach made big news because they asked the sports Yahoo Sports reporter tried to have a got you question with the head coach. And the head coach, I'm not going to say, you guys can go look and see what he said, but he kind of blew it off. He blew it off, right? And he steered it into a religious way. He said, "Well, how many of them are Christians?" And I thought that was great. He didn't take the bait. He made headlines.
You may be able to argue that he took the bait somewhat, because some people could argue that kind of thing is a controversial subject.
Right. Yeah. But tonight is Boston and Dallas in Game 4 at 8:30 on ABC. So check that out. I'll have the scores for you guys next week. So on the hockey front on Thursday, more big news. The Panthers defeated the Oilers 4-3 for the Panthers to lead the series 3-0, which means they win on Saturday night. They win the Stanley Cup. So that game is Saturday night. Yes. So we might have two champions a champion on Friday and a champion on Saturday. So that game is Saturday at 8 o'clock on ABC. I'm definitely going to be tuning in or keeping tabs on it to watch that. Because, honestly, I kind of think they're going to go into 5 games with that. Just like I think that, the NBA is going to go into 5 games. But if Boston wins tonight and Florida wins tomorrow night, more power to them. You know?
Absolutely.
So that was all.
Everybody loves good competition.
That's right. And people love yeah. So, I'll watch as many games as there'll be. I know they're best of 7 in both of them. So if it pushes to 7 games, I'll watch it. If it goes to 6 games, I'll watch it. But I think both of them go to 5 games. So that was all for the sports news. So now we're going to do the What We're Listening To segment. So who we're listening to this week is Third Eye Blind. And
another one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
I'll Never Let You Go.
That's right. Never Let You Go, Semi-Charmed Life, Jumper, all of them. We grew up listening to them, buddy. Mm-hmm. They formed in 93 in San Francisco, California. They've had 7 studio albums. In fact, their first studio album, I think, is 20 or 25 years old now. I own that record. I own that record, and it is a great record. I first heard of them in 97 with Semi-Charmed Life, which happened to be their first single. And they're actually on tour right now with Yellow Card. And they're coming to North Carolina here in a few weeks, but, So if you guys want to go check them out, go check them out. And go check out Third Eye Blind. The song we're listening to this week is Semi-Charmed Life. So that's
all right.
I've always said the 90s were the last great decade for music. So some people,
I don't know. The 2000s were pretty close.
The 2000s, but I think when the Taylor Swifts and the Justin Biebers came on the scene, they really messed it up.
Yeah, they amplified it with all that
crap. Exactly. So another song I want you guys to listen to this week is Jumper from Third Eye Blind. That's another one of my favorites. So go check out Semi-Charmed Life and go check out Jumper. In fact, just go listen to that whole debut album from Third Eye Blind. It's worth the listen.
It's a banger, huh?
Absolutely. So, for motivation this week, I just want to stay positive through the storms you're going through. Everybody goes through the storms. Everybody has things they go through. Stay strong through them, because another one of my favorite quotes is, God gives his strongest storms to his strongest warriors. So, he wouldn't give you a storm you couldn't get through. And it's brighter after the storm. So just push through. Everything's going to be okay.
You're exactly right.
And
I want to add something to that. Everybody gets caught up in the drama of the game of life as we go day to day. But we're all different no matter what happens.
That's right.
We're all limited to our time. But during your time here, there's one thing you should keep in mind.
What's that?
Karma.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
Because really, it's not about whether you succeed or fail, but what you do while you're attempting to reach your goal.
Exactly.
And sometimes what goes around comes around.
Right.
Like you said last week, treat others the way you'd like to be treated.
Exactly.
Well, this is an extension of that.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Because you wouldn't want to be treated... If you're being treated bad, it's because you treated that person bad.
Exactly.
So you treat people the way you want to be treated, and they'll treat you in return. Like, I'm the type of person, you treat me good, I treat you good. You know,
But at the same time, you understand that sometimes people act out of rage.
I do.
They don't mean to hurt your feelings.
I do. And I've been accused of that too. Not accused, but I've been guilty of that.
You mean guilty of acting out of rage?
Correct. And I've always apologized and felt bad about it.
Right.
And I haven't done it often, but it's happened. And it happens to everybody. But you got to just know that, you know, God loves us all equally.
Absolutely.
And He's there if you need Him. So when you're going through a tough time, pray. Because prayer always helps. But I think...
Amen, my brother.
That's it, man. So I think that's all I've got for today. Do you have any parting words, King?
Well, all I can say is live life to the fullest and be yourself.
That's all you can do, man. So I want to thank you guys for going the distance with me this week, with us this week. And tune in next week when we'll hopefully have some championship news in the NBA and NHL. We're going to have the UFL championship breakdown. And we'll be back with you with some more music news and motivation. So have a good weekend.
And I do want to suggest one other thing.
What's that?
If your fans have any motivation of their own, they should feel free to send it in.
There you go.
Because we're all in this together.
That's correct.
We can't make the show without you.
That's right. So in the comment, if you guys like it, like the video, subscribe to the page, and comment on this video. Comment motivation, comment sports news, comment who you're listening to, all that. Because this is our show.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you guys again for joining me this week. Have a good weekend. God bless. And see you next week.
Shalom.